All right, Ali, do you want to tell us about your startup and what you're currently faced with?
Sure. My startup is called MassMobileApps. We are a do-it-yourself mobile app building platform. So the Wix for mobile apps.
Okay, cool.
Currently, we've got revenue, we've got customers, like resellers and that kind of stuff. So our main issue right now is trying to scale. We were looking at bringing on some equity financing, trying to do a raise. But what we're looking, the goal is to get from where we are today to the next level, which would be, I think we've got 40 or 50 plus resellers. So we want to get to 100, 200, 500 resellers. And then obviously that MRR would be at a much higher level as well.
Okay, so the core issue is about scaling.
Scaling, and if it's the right time to do a raise, we were at Collision, which is a industry trade show in May, and we have some interest there. But trying to put a pitch deck together, doing that kind of stuff.
Okay, so is now the right time to raise? How much, and effectively how do you scale? Okay, so you want to raise from traditional VCs, or?
This is new to me, so I'm not even sure which way.
Okay, so what I found to be one of the best questions to ask first off is what your goals are for your business and what's possible. So if you're going to raise money from people, no longer be basically your baby, right? You've got to give it away. So long as you own the company, you can do whatever the heck you want. It's your company, right?
Yes.
To be honest, raising money actually sucks. So if you can actually own your company, it's way better because you have total options. Then the downside is it comes out of cash, right? The moment you take a dime from someone else, you have to give it back to them, right? You know what? If you take money from a bank or something, it's a loan. You still have to pay that money back. But when you sell a share of your company, unless they're cool in the gang with your business being a dividend-paying business for the rest of your life, they want you to sell it. So if you raise money from venture capitalists, where it's their business model to sell a company in max 5 to 7 years, you have to sell your company. Yeah. If you raise money from a VC, you have to sell your company.
You have to sell
your company. Okay.
At some point.
At some point. And that some point is typically 5 to 7 years.
Okay.
Right? And there's a lot of baggage which comes with that, though. Okay. So, if you want to go the problem is most banks don't give startups loans, right?
Correct.
So that's the kind of traditional finance thing. It doesn't work. It works if you've got a nice, normal, kind of boring business, which ideally is asset-backed. And then as you kind of go up the curve, VCs would be the most aggressive, okay? So between these, when you're raising money from, this whole investor world, it fundamentally involves you selling your company. There are some intermediary areas between, which is like revenue-based financing. So there's companies like Clearbank who are giving people money with interest rates, effectively. They look at your track record. They say, hey, do you know what? Ali's got a good business. I'm going to give him money. It comes with a relatively high interest rate, but it doesn't come with equity dilution and the requirement to then sell. So long as you know that if you take $1 and you get 3 back, that model could work for you. Yeah. But otherwise, if you go into this whole world of raising angel investors, raising from venture capitalists, institutional investors, this becomes a world where you don't own your company forever anymore. You have to sell it. So that's a choice that you need to make.
So even if you own the majority of the shares, would that still mean that you'd have to sell at some point?
The contract you're making is that you are basically becoming a meth addict. Okay. So I'm an investor. I'm going to invest in your startup. I give you $1 million now. Congratulations. I'm basically a drug dealer. Okay. I'm startup meth called funding. All right. Take that, and you need to grow like crazy, like sticking a rocket in your bum and going boom, boom. All right. And report to me every month or every quarter and tell me how you're doing. And frankly, do you know what? If I don't really like it and I have enough control, I can fire you and you'll lose your shares in the company because I'm going to give you vesting.
Right.
It's really, that's the only real control a VC has over your company is firing the CEO. And that is a scenario that can happen.
Even if they have a small percentage, like 20%
Well, they need,
or whatever.
effectively need to have board control in order to do it. So the board makes a decision over hiring the CEO, the CEO's salary, compensation, etc. So it's, if you just raise a small amount of money from angel investors, it's unlikely they'll have enough control to be able to do that. But fundamentally, the social contract you're making is, I'm giving you money, and you need to make this company worth more and sell it on my timeline. So there are like angel investors, if you're raising a small amount of money, you know, maybe they're okay with you building, you know, a nice dividend-making business if your cash makes enough. But if you raise money from a VC, like a proper VC who takes money from other people and gives it to you, there is a timeline, okay? In their documentation, it says they have to give it back to them with this deadline, right? That could be 7 years, it could be 9 years, it could be 10 years. They can potentially have 2 years extensions on that, but you're not talking any more than 9 years. Like you have to sell it back to them, and they'll just give you pressure of you need to sell, you need to sell, you need to sell. But that's what you're doing. Like, you're building a business designed to sell. So again, if you're starting a company to sell it, what you are is therefore outsourced corporate innovation, right? Because more than likely you're not going to IPO. You're solving a problem that a corporate has that they're going to pay for you to solve.
Right. Okay. Understood.
So choose your own adventure. What route are you going to go?
Well, the goal is the only reason we need. I bootstrapped the company to get to where we are right now. So the goal for any kind of funding to come in would be for a marketing budget and growing the company to scale it, really. So, you know, maybe we look at internally and try and do it that way. When we've got a lot more traction, other things would pop up, right?
How much money do you ideally want?
You know, for what I got for the next phase, I think 250 would be more than enough to get me from A to B. Sorry, you froze.
Do you want to raise more money after that?
I don't think it would be necessary, because I think with that 250, we'd be positioning the business in a way that we would be able to fund it ourselves with the revenue that we're going to be generating. So I don't think, I mean, you know, like there's a company, I'm not sure if you're familiar with Shopify. They're a Canadian company. So we build mobile apps. My goal with the business is we've got a mobile app platform already. We're going to launch an e-commerce module or functionality similar to what Shopify does in the next 6 months. And then down the road, maybe in 12 months, to launch a POS solution. So we want to become a one-stop shop for a merchant, having their POS, e-commerce, and mobile app and marketing in one place.
Focus on mobile.
Yes. So if we were going to, you know, at that, you know, we can do that in stages. We don't have to do it in one shot. But my background is retail. I'm a small business owner before I got into this. So I know what functionality, what kind of features, what kind of things a business owner you know, would use in a platform. So I have that I guess competitive advantage. And when we're building things out, I'm building it from that perspective. You know, I'm not a coder, so I architect what I want. I want this feature, that feature, this. We get it built. So we can really put something together that's you know, would be really competitive in the market.
So you want to raise 250 to push this forward more now, and then basically continue to cash fund it.
Correct.
Is the opportunity so large that it's worth raising more money to capitalize on it? Or is the market a niche opportunity which doesn't require that money, more money?
It's a big market. The biggest player in the space is a company called MassMobileApps. I think they've got 3,000 plus resellers. They're doing about $15 million annually. They were just recently bought out a year ago by a VC company called Think3. And I'm not sure what the buyout was, but the guys that started it were, I think, raised money, and they had to sell, like you said. So they were just recently bought out. But there is a big market, and the POS market and the e-commerce market, I mean, Shopify is really the biggest player in the game. They're doing a good job with it, but there's a lot of room for competition. You know, the price point that they charge is really high. You know, so we could really come in there and make a dent in that business.
What is your aspiration for this? I mean, how big do you think this company could be?
Done correctly, you know, we can be like a Shopify or
so billions, right?
In
Billions.
Sorry? Yeah, I mean, the internet, the marketplace is huge. Small businesses, there's, you know, in the US alone, 30, 40 million.
Yeah, okay. If your opportunity is in the billions, then you could be a VC candidate, right? But you have to have a market in the billions for that to make sense. The reason being is, you know, for a SaaS company, which ultimately is what you would be, you know, subscription revenue, right? You want to be able to get to at least 100 million in ARR, annual recurring revenue. And if that's a distinct possibility, then you could raise VC money. But that's a choose your own adventure, right? There's a path you decide you want to get down to is financially beneficial for you, because you're going to get diluted raising money from third parties. But the thing is that you can grow and capitalize on the market opportunity. Or you could say maybe you're like, you know, 96 Signals of Basecamp, or who are the other bootstrap companies? I've got a blog on this somewhere. I can't think of anyone else at the top of my head right now who, you know, own their whole company. I mean, it takes some time to build it, but they own the whole freaking thing and they can do what they want.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, like I said, for me, the initial goal, the 250, and then I'm very confident that we could fund it internally with sales, our own, you know, sales moving forward.
Okay. Well, then if you're going to have high net profit margins, then you can pay out dividends from this, right? Assuming you stop growing at some point.
Yes.
And therefore, it could be a dividend yielding stock effectively for an investor.
Correct.
And so that's not for everyone, but I'm sure there'll be someone who will like that. The question then is finding the person who is cool in the gang with that. And it's typically going to be more someone like you who believes in building a real business instead of like a meth addicted startup, right?
Right.
So there will be people like that. But
so where do you find that? What kind of information you put together? Is the same kind of thing you do for, like with a pitch deck?
You raise for a normal investor. You just have someone with a different mentality. You're looking more for like Chinese people, right? I spend a lot of time in Asia. You know, they believe that, you know, you can actually make profits. You actually have profit margins. They believe in real businesses, not like the Californians who are like, you know, oh, you've got some cool tech, here's some money, just go and do stuff, right? And let's just see what happens.
Right.
But there are people who have built real businesses which can hopefully get their head around this and see that this could actually be a profit yielding stock for them. But I wouldn't bother trying to raise from Californian angel investors, right?
Right. Okay.
So it just would be a different mentality, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So people who have built real businesses.
Some insight on that you didn't have before.
So target the people who have built real businesses, probably what I would do. And so your pitch deck and all that material, it's fundamentally the same thing. But what you really want to communicate is, look, we built this business, it's solid, the market opportunity is actually large. It's not a winner-take-all market. I don't need to raise $100 million to build a 100 million ARR business, which will then buy it at 10x billion dollar, blah, blah. But there's opportunity for a number of players. We're very focused on our particular niche. We know who our customers are and the problems that they have. We're building the first week's thing. We've already proven that what we've built so far solves a problem that they have. So now we need to do more of that. So I'm raising 250K because product development, marketing, whatever it is, to apply it to this. And I already know that with my acquisition channels, if I put X dollars into this, I'll get Y dollars out of it. And I have enough margin to then leverage that cash to not only acquire more customers, but invest it into the development of the company. The way that we're going to make money is that in year 3 or something, we'll stop allocating so much money to sales and marketing and direct that back to dividends. So we think that you'll be able to get whatever IRR off that on an ongoing basis. And I love this
Right.
stuff, and I'm going to be around forever. And I don't mind doing this the next 30 years if that's what it takes.
Right.
You know,
Okay.
and that you and the team are the right guys to do this. So it's what you're emphasizing is this is not like a winners take all thing where if you're not the person who raises the most money, you won't win. It's like the market is so large and there's so many people with problems that there can be multiple people to solve this industry. So it's like, you know, just emphasizing that the market's not going to run away from you.
Got it.
You know?
Yeah.
Because typically, like one good reason to raise money from VCs is because it is a winner take all market. And that, it's going to be Schumpeter's creative destruction, whereby you're going to kill whatever was there before, maybe even shrink the market, own it, and the person who really owns that market is going to dominate, like Google does with search. But you want to emphasize that you're not like a Google. You're competing in a market that has a problem which is never going away. And so it doesn't matter if people raise loads of money, because you can never solve the problem for everyone. Sense, you know, I'm building a proper real business with real logic. The upside may not be as high as if you do some Silicon Valley blah blah, but the likelihood of you losing your money is fundamentally very different. It's a very risk profile. So that's kind of what you're selling, if that makes sense.
Yes. Risk averse. Again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What are you having problems with scaling?
Well, just the avenues or the channels to put the marketing dollars, the resources that we do have. We'll put a lot of it into product development, but advertising, is you could spend $250,000 and not get anywhere with it if you're not doing it right. But now I've found a couple of firms that have done the inbound, the sales funnels, all that kind of stuff, and have had success with it. And we've got some good options there to work with some people that know what they're doing, and I'm confident that they would be able to put a funnel together for us and have it converting. So once we get that going, again, like I said, the revenue coming in, the sales would be enough for us to do what we need to do as far as improving the platform and adding the other features that we're talking about. So,
I'm just trying to figure out what you want to talk about here. Is figuring out how to scale this something that you're stuck with?
So you cut out again.
Is figuring out how to scale is something which is like a big sticking point for you right now?
Yes, that is it's not figuring out. It is figuring out how to scale. I guess where to put the resources that we do have into the marketing channels, but we've kind of eliminated that in the sense that we've interviewed a few marketing companies that have done this with some success. So I've got that down. Like I said, those things are not cheap. So either we've got to look internally to raise, do it again with the marketing, or like I said, we're thinking about, should we do a raise? So those are the two things that I guess one's needed in order to do the other. So either we raise our own capital, whether that's mortgaging the house or whatever, or we look externally. But we definitely we're growing slowly right now. We're growing organically. We're not doing any kind of advertising whatsoever, any kind of marketing at all. So eventually we'll get there, but it's we want to go at a faster pace and scale faster. We're ready.
Okay, I'm just looking at numbers. Startup is basically a business model looking for a scalable and repeatable way to sell itself. That's what you're fundamentally doing, is figuring out how you take something that's working and get more people to use it. So I presume starting point that your product works, right? That's not a problem for you. Yeah?
Sorry, you cut it again. I apologize. I'm not sure it's my connection, but it's hard. I'm trying to keep all the pieces together. What was that last comment?
I'm on fiber, so I shouldn't have a problem. So startup is looking for a scalable and repeatable way Okay, so if your product works and you don't have a problem with that, then it's a matter of selling it. And the great thing of SaaS businesses is that your gross margin is obscenely high, typically, so long as you don't have too much COGS or onboarding costs and things like this, right? You build it once and you sell it to freaking everyone. What you need to do then is figure out who actually is your avatar that wants to purchase this. So it starts out with by being like anally clear about who that person is. And the way I explain this to people is about polar bear hunting. So if you want to go hunting polar bears, you first need to know what you're hunting, right? You say his name is John. He's a polar bear, right? He's 9 foot tall. He's really fluffy and white. He looks like he want to give you a hug, but actually he'll rip your face off. He's got a little black nose, right? So you now know exactly what John is, what he looks like, what he does. Where does John live? Is the North Pole or the South Pole? Because if you go and you've discovered John or a John lives in the zoo in Brooklyn, that's false positive because there's only 2 of them in the freaking zoo, right?
Right.
And then maybe get smart and go like, is he in the North Pole or the South Pole? And if you pick the wrong one, you're going to find penguins, right? You need to know where John actually lives. What does he do? And then figure out how to target him. So like one thing I get asked by founders so many times when starting companies is where the frick do I find a co-founder? And it's typically business people asking this question who want to find a tech co-founder. And do you know where you're looking for them? Places you find other business founders and not tech founders. You know, tech founders are not at these extroverted CEO events, right? They're on Reddit forums with Haskell and Python or the Python meetup, right? On the weekend. They're not where business people are. You may think that's where you'd find startup people, but it's the wrong polar bear, right? He's in the wrong region. You're looking in the wrong place. So you really need, like with your customer, you need to really develop, and there's other people who have done this extensively on blogs, so I can't remember off the top of my head. So I haven't written about this because there's loads of people who do it. But you really need to write like a name for who your customer is, what they do, where they hang out, so that you can actually target them. You know? And
Makes sense. Yeah. Customer avatar.
Right? Who is that person? Where do they live? And then you go looking for them there. Now, the great thing about being a fairly small company is that pretty much anything moves the needle, right? You need to be scalable when you start having a large N, right? That the number of clients is large. To move that needle for growth, you need to do more scalable things. So let me give you an example. I was doing a pitch deck with a client in London who does a professional trainer app, basically, okay? And I'm like, well, how many clients do you have? I'm like, I don't know, like 100. I'm like, 100? Are you kidding me? Why isn't that higher? Oh, you know, we're figuring out a scalable marketing acquisition channels and blah, blah, blah. I was like, bullshit. 100 clients. It's just a fucking personal training app, right? Are you seriously telling me if I tell you to leave this room, go out and stand outside Goldman Sachs or the tube station, and you couldn't get, you know, $2,000 worth of clients or something right now, and I give you $2,000 if you can do that? And he was like, if I can go get 200 clients and give me $2,000, I'm like, yeah, fuck yeah. And he said, yeah, of course I could. So I'm like, what the fuck are you doing standing here then? Right? Guys are trying to raise money. They're fucking around with fancy stuff. They got like 100 clients. And if they got out the street and got 200 clients, they would double their client base immediately. Like that doesn't make any freaking sense. Like if you can do things which don't scale at the start, do that, right? You take that money and then you can reuse it. But don't do fancy shit at the start because anything moves the needle for you. Don't be thinking, oh, I need to be crazy scalable and blah, blah. I mean, like, do you know what? Maybe, I have no idea. Maybe your John, your polar bear, is on Quora, right? You go on Quora, you start answering questions about how do I launch my mobile app or whatever it is, and say, here are some really insightful things about how, in our experience, people have done things really wrong. And if you avoid these things, you can build a successful company too. If,
Mhm.
if you're interested in building one, by the way, we can help you do that. But you're not sticking, your sales down their throat. You're teaching them
Yeah.
something, going, fuck me, Ali knows a lot. I should go check
Yeah.
that out, right? So maybe Quora could be a channel. Maybe Reddit could be a channel. And it's just you answering questions for people and helping them out in an insightful way where you show that you are an expert on it. It could be
Right.
you doing guest posting on blogs and talking about, the 3 key metrics you need to know if your mobile app is successful. Written by Ali, expert on whatever.
Yeah. Well, I'm part of the Forbes Technology Council, so I've done a few pieces for Forbes.
Yeah, fantastic.
Yeah.
You get what I mean? But if you teach people, then naturally want to do it because they're like, this Ali guy's really smart. Okay, but I'm talking about content marketing. That can work. What that is either your time, staff's time, or you hire someone on Upwork or wherever you find the freelancers and get them to write for you. And the great thing about if you write evergreen content, it doesn't go away and it can keep on adding value. It takes time for it to work, but it can keep contributing to you.
Yeah,
So
makes sense.
it becomes earned media. Just driving money through Google Ads and Facebook in just the obvious way typically doesn't work unless you've got really high margins and your ARPA is high enough. It just doesn't work, right?
Yeah.
So you got to figure out something that's smarter. If there's some little hack or thing that you can do, which you can leverage on. But again, when you're starting from a smaller base, the scale that you need to achieve to deliver doubling your monthly revenue or something is not if you were a $10 million a month company, right?
Yeah, of course.
Start smaller, start hacking and think, what can I do to make a difference? It could be, do you know what? Knocking on doors or finding Facebook groups or I don't know, whatever it is. Where does John live? And how can I help out John? And once you start getting bigger, you can, talk about the expensive agencies and stuff who will do things at a larger scale. But now you may not need to do that. Smaller things could move the needle. And if you have enough margin coming through this, you can take that money and keep on testing new things that might work.
Right.
One example of something more like content marketing with advertising is if you can build good enough lookalike audience or something retargeting, target people on Facebook relatively effectively, and you can do webinars. And again, I don't know what John is and what his pain problem is, but it could be, hey, John, you've got a great business, but your users would love to have an app. The problem is, it's so much work to build one. You look for these people, they can't really do it properly. You start again, you use these other companies and it's too expensive, or they've got the logos and whatever. I'm going to teach you how you can build an app in 3 hours and it's only going to cost you $500, whatever it is. Sign up for a webinar and I'm going to teach you the 5 key secrets about how to build an effective mobile app, right? And then you can have like a half an hour, hour-long session in a webinar and automate it using a platform called like EverWebinar, which I think is like 60.
Yep, got it.
And you can then drive people through a funnel through education, right? As opposed to just buying random ass Facebook looks, taking to a landing page on your site, which is generic, and then hope it kind of works. There are things you can do to make this more, and you don't even necessarily need an agency for it if money is a problem for you. Like, figure out now, what are the key things that you can do to move your needle more, generate more money, so that you can then hire people to incrementally improve things.
Right. Okay. Oh, that makes sense. I like the idea of the webinar, how to build an app kind of thing. At the end of the webinar, get a free whatever app build or something like that.
And there's a lot of tips that you can do for this. For example, like you can have, I don't know, like a free extra like training video or document cheat sheet or something. Like, hey guys, if you stay to the end, you'll get this blah blah, and that makes sure that people actually stay and watch, because you're going to do your educational thing. At the end, you're going to put in a sell for it, right? lots
Yeah.
of tips and tricks that you can do to actually make those webinars far more effective. But the biggest thing I can recommend to you is just do something and ship it, even if it's not great, because doing is better than perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Absolutely.
When I started doing YouTube videos, like you look at my older ones, like pretty shit, because I knew like if I tried to be perfect, I would never do it. But get out and just fucking do something. And I've put out like 150 videos or something. I don't give a shit anymore. You get in this habit of doing stuff. And so you can go, do you know what? I'm going to pick 3 webinar topics about 3 different things. I'm just going to fucking do them. Weekend, boom. I'm going to get this done, put them online, and A/B test 3 of them and see which ones work.
Yeah.
Just, just do it. When you can do stuff.
So you would say do those topics and just put it out on Facebook, go in some groups and say we're doing a webinar, or spend some some ad dollars, buy some traffic, and put it into a page for a webinar.
The preferential thing to do is to figure out proper lookalike or retargeting audiences. So if you don't already, you need to have a Google and Facebook pixel on your site so that you can retarget your customers. Right. That's really important, and it's not hard to do. If you don't know this stuff, just go to Upwork, and you can pay someone not very much money to do this for you. Okay. And get that pixel in, because you're just going to start tracking anyone who comes to your site. Okay. And then you have them in an audience, and you can remarket to them a lot more cheaply. And so if you have like a Facebook pixel installed, they come to your site, suddenly they're going to find Ali is everywhere on Facebook, right? They already had interest, you didn't convert them. Now you keep on feeding them. Oh, wow, these guys are everywhere. They must be companies.
Right. No, makes sense.
So make sure, the moment I set up a new website, I put the pixel in immediately. One of the first things I do, just so that I have it there. You want to, look for lookalike audiences as well if you can, all right, and start marketing those people anywhere you can kind of hijack people's swag. That's useful. I don't know if this works for you, but there are, because you're a techie kind of company, you can look. Fuck, I don't know. It's mobile. I don't know how it works. But the one hack I've known some tech companies do is they look at people's tech stack and figure out what they're using. So, I see someone's using Shopify. You can scrape them, figure out their tech stack. There's ways of getting the email, like emailhunter.io or whatever it is. You can find emails and then send them like, hey, I see you're using Shopify. Have you thought about building a mobile app? It's probably like way too difficult. Well, we make it really simple for a ridiculously affordable price. So you can analyze the tech stack in order to know that they might potentially be a potential customer for you.
Right.
And they're basically generating leads.
And that's like through emailhunter.io, you said?
Let me find an example. Hunter.io is one example. Email finders. Rocket Reach. Hunter.io I know is definitely one. There's a bunch of them. If you voila Norbert, find anyone's email address. 15 email finder. If you type in like email finder, you'll find blogs which have a list of them. So find that there's a Clearbit, Email Hunter, voila Norbert, Conspire. There's at least 15 of these. So Clearbit, voila Norbert, would be some of the well-known ones. And if you have some details, you can put it in and it'll tell you probably what their email address is. And then you can use like Ninja Outreach or there's a bunch of these. Mailshake, for example, whereby you put the email addresses in and you make an email sequence of emails.
We have Infusion. We're using Infusionsoft for our CRM and marketing.
But then you have an email sequence, you spam them, and hopefully they'll end up converting. If you get them on the phone, great. Another hack that you can do, if you know what John looks like and who he is, where he lives on LinkedIn, is that for a lot of people LinkedIn. So step one is you get a sales navigator account on LinkedIn. It's 60, 70 bucks a month or something. You have to have that because LinkedIn's default settings for search are crap. So 60, 70 bucks a month, not a big deal, right? So you need to get that.
Mm-hmm.
The next thing you want to do, depending on how technical you want to be, is you either get Duck Soup or LinkedIn Helper. Duck Soup is DUX Soup, right? Or LinkedIn Helper, okay? And these things are ridiculously cheap. They're like $15 or $19 a month or something like that. Duck Soup, the UI is a lot more simple, so it's easier to start with. But if you do this more seriously, LinkedIn Helper has a lot more functionality into it, okay? And so there's a couple of things that you can do with both these programs. One is profile hopping. So you go into LinkedIn, you select the type of people that you select for John, right? I'm looking for John in Toronto who has 1 to 50 employees, whatever title, keywords, right? And you get that list of people. The easiest thing you can do, which has the least risk basically, is a thing called profile hopping. Keep on looking at John's LinkedIn profile. And then he goes, oh, I've noticed that some dude called Ali keeps looking at my profile who does apps. Maybe I should check that out, right? So it's really important that you have to optimize your LinkedIn profile, whether or not it's your account or someone else's account, so that if someone sees that you look at the profile, it's almost like an immediate call to action, right? Mobile apps for small companies or whatever it is. It's like, oh, that might be something I'm interested in, right? So they see Ali or Jane or whoever is looking at it. They click in your profile. They see the description. Oh, you help small businesses create mobile apps at revolutionary prices. Fuck, that might be interesting, right?
Right.
So profile hopping is one thing you can do. The next stage is that you can profile hop and scrape, right, the name and title, and then you put that into like an email hunter and find their email. I have no idea. This is getting a bit more gray hat, right? Then find their email and then just spam them, right? The next thing you can do is that you can automate adding connections to them. So you find your Johns, and you send them a message and say, hey, John, see you're like a small business owner. I love, you know, nothing salesy yet, right? I love getting to know people who are passionate about, like, you know, the little guy or whatever the fuck it is, right? Some sort of non-salesy type of thing, but it's like, you know, we should chat. Like, I'd love to kind of share some of the 3 key tips that I've learned about, you know, how business owners can get more clients. Hugs and kisses, Ali, right? So you can do that automatically. And so you create this template which says bracket name, message, right? And so you can automate adding people on LinkedIn. And there's limits of how many people you can add per day, etc., so that you don't get banned by LinkedIn. The things that you need to do, because, you know, obviously LinkedIn doesn't like it. Thanks for watching, LinkedIn. So you can automatically add them, and then you can then message them automatically through the program saying, hey, Alex, John, great to connect with you. You know, if you've ever thought about how you can build your business more effectively and get a really solid app, I'd love to share you with my kids about, oh God, sorry. Can you hear me? I'd love to share some tips about how you can do this really efficiently. You know, so it's not like a direct, but you start out being like, I want to be your friend kind of stuff. And then you kind of build up a bit. And then after a while, you can start being a bit more salesy, but you can also take a 2-pronged approach where you're messaging them and cultivating them on LinkedIn. But then you can also, anytime someone becomes a 1st-degree connection, you can actually then scrape their email out of LinkedIn properly, because email is active in LinkedIn. And then 2-pronged, you can message them on LinkedIn, you can also then email them. But you're putting in nurturing sequences where you add value, you put in a sale, they don't go for it, you add more value, you put in a sale. But you need to alternate, like, the communication you have with people of being typically a consultative sales process. Right? Whereas, like, okay, whoever's emailing me is clearly an expert. This is probably something I'd like to know about, right?
Yeah.
But there has to be some thought leadership, because these days people get spammed so much crap. They can smell it, right? If you kind of feel sincere about helping people and they go, wow, that's actually really good, people want to be a part of that, right? So if you do ever do content, my recommendation is to do less volumatically, but much higher quality. So like I'm a top writer on Quora, and I can tell you, I have a couple of posts which are like 10% of all my views. And I probably have thousands of fucking answers that I've laboriously answered on Quora, right? I'll write some blog like, here are 15 startups that pivoted from failure to be successful, or how did Tinder and Pinterest grow so quickly? And I'll get hundreds of thousands of views for it. Or Annie just asked me, hey, Alex, how do I structure my ESOP scheme? And I get like 60 views from it, right? If you make what they call skyscraper content, right? It's clearly the best on the internet. That stuff gets shared dramatically more than okay content.
Got it.
So anytime, if you want to do the content stuff, my recommendation is do really high quality stuff that people want to share because it's fucking awesome.
Yeah, makes sense.
So there's lots of ways of dealing with marketing, but it starts with knowing who you want, where they are, and then figuring out where they are. So like, don't go spending tons of money to try and do scale stuff when if you're like 5 customers a month would be good enough. Like, okay, guys, our target is 5. Where can we find them?
Yeah.
Right. The next month you want to double your target. Next month we want 5 this month. Next month we want 10. So whoever's responsible for marketing, maybe it's you, whoever, knows that they've got some easy wins that they can test at now, but they need to kind of be planting the groundwork for something that might be a bit larger. And really with marketing, not that I'm a freaking expert, right? But is figuring out what works and doesn't work and just testing stuff. I'm like, you know what? That doesn't work. We'll test something else. Because there can be all sorts of random stuff which didn't work for other people, but it could work for you. You could find in like core advertising or Reddit advertising or TikTok. I don't know, whatever channel platform it is, it might work. If your product is mass appeal, I've been told that Outbrain, you know, when you go to certain websites and at the bottom there's like, here are 5 incredible things you never thought was happen, right? That ad inventory is apparently super undervalued. But if apparently it is. If your product is mass marketed enough, that's apparently super undervalued platform to leverage on. But you need to have something which appeals to enough people to make that work. Maybe it is that maybe your product does, I don't know. But just try random stuff and see if it works. But also when you do it, just put in the minimum viable requirement in order to do it properly. So like when I first started like my pitch deck business, I've had really big companies, but I have like 100 people in marketing doing shit. Like I don't, I don't do Facebook ads myself, right? I don't have a fucking clue. But I put stuff out, and I taught myself how Facebook worked when I first launched this website just to test it, right? Because I wanted to be able to test new ideas, and I made from the start like 20 ad variations because I knew that I did not know what I was doing. And most of them were garbage, but a couple of them worked. I had no clue what was going to work, like no clue at all. And so just because, like, if I had made 3 ad variations which are rubbish, they could have all failed, and I would have said, hey, do you know what? Facebook doesn't work. Most of them are garbage. A couple of them worked, and I got a client for 380 euros the first day that I started the site. It's like whoop-de-woo, but it validated that what I was testing might be worth doing more of.
Yeah, makes sense.
So you have to test things, but test it well enough to prove the viability of it. And you can test things with relatively small amounts of money, and then do more if it works. Because once you know that something works, you can just keep putting money into it. Because if you put in 1, you get 3. Yeah. So, but again, just one of the most important things to do as well is like set goals and know what it is you want to achieve. Okay. And communicate that to everyone. So if you decide that you want to double revenue this month, right? Tell everyone on the team, our goal is to go from 5 to 10 customers, right? We want the average revenue per customer to be something, right? Like be specific about what it is everyone's going to do. Don't let people get totally distracted from their job, but make everyone think that this is something that I want to contribute to. You know, have OKRs. Like I've got a free tool to help you do that, right? Help let people set goals of how they want to contribute to what the company wants to achieve. So if you say you're going to 10x our revenue this year, it's a big, but maybe it's a possible goal. It's a stretch goal. Say to everyone, how are you going to contribute to achieving this, right?
Yes.
That's our annual goal. And then do it quarterly. Here are what we're going to achieve in the next quarter, right? Here's how each individual person is going to contribute to actually making that happen.
Yeah.
And then align everyone to make things happen. All right. And so if you decide that your goal is to double your revenue in the month, how are you going to do that? Who's responsible for that? Who's accountable for making that happen? And then, you know, assuming like your company's not too crazily big, is every single day, like under Scrum, have a daily stand-up.
Yeah.
Everyone, what are you going to do today? What to do yesterday? And what's getting in your way of achieving what we need to do? Making sure everyone's clear about whatever it is you're doing. And so if growth, because your product works, is a big thing, maybe for product engineering guys, it's how can you make the onboarding process faster so that conversion rates are higher, right? For marketing people, etc., it's getting more things in the funnel, right? Decide where it is, right? So you have this this funnel called Pirate Metrics, was written by Dave McClure, who kind of founded 500 Startups. And where you want to start firstly is the top of that funnel, right? It comes down to sales. But the first point is getting traffic, right? So it's people. So the first thing that your goal is to do is to figure out how to attract people. Once you've figured out how to attract people, how do you actually activate or convert those people? And then you keep going down the funnel to how do you make more money out of them? How can you get them to do referrals, etc. But you start at the top, and your sole goal now, right, is how do you attract people to your landing page?
Okay.
All right. Once you go on.
Do you think an affiliate program would be a good idea?
I don't know. Test it.
Okay.
Be very careful with marketing about people who tell you definitively to do things, because what works for you might not have worked for them in their past, right? The only way you know is by testing. So if you read a blog about from one of your competitors, you do exactly the same thing, and they say this shit didn't work. That's probably a useful insight. Do what they say. And test it in future just in case, because maybe they did a shit job. So someone who does exactly what it is that you do, that's probably a good learning. Generally, like if I'm a marketer consultant telling you what to do, it's like, oh, my work in the property industry. I'm like, motherfucker, it's a different industry. Don't, if I say, oh, you know, don't do that, like it's not, you don't know, right? It might work. You don't know, right? You have to have an open mindset of let's test stuff. And that what's also important then is when you're communicating with your staff is that if they fuck up, that's cool. Right? You need to be able to test things and fail, because what you're realizing is you're going against the null and realizing this doesn't work. So like Edison, we're going to keep on finding the way to build a light bulb.
Makes sense.
All right. So starting point is, how can I get lots of Johns to our website? This is starting to see porn business now. How can I get John to the website, right? And then once you figure that out, it's how then you want to focus on how do you get Johns to how do you get Mary to buy, right? So then it's like A/B testing your the button color and the copy that you have and all these different things, because if your site's crap, Mary comes to your site and was like, this looks ghetto.
Yeah. Out.
But if you figure out how to get Mary to your website, you figured out the first stage of your funnel. Now it's about figuring out how to convert.
Yeah.
If you got her, how do you keep her? Right? How do you then get her to do word of mouth for you, which is the best form of marketing in the world?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How do you make sure that they don't churn? All these things. But just if you break it down to a process of like, let's start from the top, and then we'll get more nerdy over time. You have a direct plan, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Test everything, or well, don't test everything. Be open to testing everything, but pick things that you're going to test. And for them, you're saying you need to create numbers that you're going to test against, right? So I need, in order for this test to be worthwhile, I need to get at least 1,000 people to see it.
Mm-hmm.
Prove or disprove your null thesis of this would be successful if I can acquire someone for $20 at whatever conversion, click-through rates, etc. This would be a successful test. Then you go and test it, and you figure out whether or not you prove or disprove your null hypothesis for that.
Right. Right.
And if it doesn't pass your threshold, test something else.
Oh, yeah.
You can only pick so many things and do so many things properly. Like one big issue that I have, because I do too many things, is that I do too many things and I can't focus on them.
Yeah.
Only have to do things so well.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. What would you think about teams very small? A co-founder. I don't need a CTO. I've got a team already working for me as employees, but as a co-founder, someone that's strong in marketing and sales, would that be something you think would be a good idea? And how would you vet, like offer them some sort of equity position?
Okay. How old's the company?
We started selling at the end of 2017.
It's an established company. So when you say co-founder, what you mean is person who accepts a salary below market rate.
Right. Yeah. Or equity in lieu of a salary, or until we can.
It's code for that, right?
Right.
What I would say is this is a theoretical question until you can find someone.
Okay.
So that's the hard part.
Yeah.
And so again, where does John live?
Yeah. Yeah. Same deal.
And if they're going to be co-founder, meaning that they have say in your company,
yeah,
you're going to have to like them.
Right.
Once they own your company, again, you can't kill them, can't get rid of them.
Yeah. Makes sense.
You need to put investing. Okay. So what you typically have is what they call 4-year vesting, 1-year cliff.
Yeah.
So that they get 25% after 12 months of putting it in, and they get more over time. And it's basically just making sure that there's an actual fit, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
You put that in.
Yeah.
But you really need to make sure that you're finding someone who really complements you, which is fundamentally what you're doing now. But when you say the co-founder word, it means less than market rate salary. So you need to make sure that they have enough money in the bank account to be able to do that. People with family and kids, unless they've made 4 pretty shitty co-founders, because that's only going to last so long, right?
Right, for sure.
It's like, hey, this product works. I know it does, but don't want to go the VC route. Want to build a real business. We could be profitable now, or whatever it is already right now. If we had people who could sell this shit better, we'll just make money. Right? You know how to do this before. I have a product that works.
Right.
You come on, sell it, boom, money, bitches.
Right. Right.
But when so you need to first off find what these people are, and then don't get me wrong, like you need to sell to that person to want to join you.
Absolutely, for sure.
So you can do that, and then you just need to have fundamentally a question about how much you're going to give them. And there's no real benchmarks for what that is. My recommendation is to pick a number where you're both equally unhappy.
Okay.
Right? When no one feels that they won. Okay.
Yeah.
So if you're like, haha, I got married for 0.5%, right?
Yeah.
You may not know very much, but over time she's going to figure out she got a shit deal.
Yeah.
And that's going to gnaw at her. She's,
Yeah.
you know, if she's not aggressive, she'll be passive aggressive, and you're like, what the fuck's wrong with Mary, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's going to ignore, and then she'll suddenly freak out and leave, and maybe, you know, come and shoot everyone. But it's make
Yeah.
sure that everyone feels unhappy that no one got a better deal. So what
Mhm.
that stake is, it's again, I don't know what that number is. It needs
Yeah.
a number where she's like, do you know what? I genuinely feel like I'm an owner of this company, and then I'm going to
Yeah.
kill myself to make this work. And Ali doesn't
Right.
need to tell me to work harder. It's my
Right.
company, and I'm going to kick ass.
Right. Makes sense. Yeah.
And you
Makes sense.
then need to feel like you gave her too much, right? Because
Yeah.
then it's that equality. So I don't know what that number is,
Right.
but it's really important that if you're going to bring someone in, that they feel like they really do have a say, and it's their company too, and that they'll be an owner.
Yeah.
If that's really what you want, you know?
Yeah. Makes sense.
So make sure they have it. And then, so it's going to be a pain in the ass to find the right person, but I would, this is advice everyone is always given and no one ever takes it. It's hire slow and fire fast.
Excellent.
If you ask any entrepreneur, famous and not famous, for one piece of advice, at least relating to staff,
Yeah.
is that, and no one ever listens, because like, fuck, we need to hire more developers. Let's just hire Ishmael,
Yeah.
whatever, just get in, motherfucker. And it turns out, you know, he's like this, he's got smelly feet and bad habits, pisses off all the stuff and whatever. And it just, and then you're like, oh no, but we can't fire Ishmael now because we need to ship this product, right? And then you don't fire him. And then everyone else gets pissed off and they leave. So if you're going to look for your Mary, make sure that you put in the work properly to get her, you know?
Yeah.
And if she doesn't work, get fucking rid of her. So one of the biggest lessons that I learned when I started Groupon in Australia was how to fire people well. Because I hired a lot of people. And their performance, their opportunity, their trial period was between 1 and 2 weeks. I'd fire people after a week if they didn't perform. And so you can imagine what that's like.
I can imagine.
Right? It's not fun. I get sued, tears, fires, and I've actually got a blog on this of like how to fire people without tears and all that kind of stuff. So I've got a blog on that. And what it is, you just get really strict on what success and not success is, what the expectations are.
Yeah.
Group one's basically like a sales boiler room, right? And so we figured out that you can have good salespeople who could be good at another industry, but they wouldn't be good at our industry. You either they could sell it or they couldn't sell it. There's just you know, and as a sales guy, if you're not making commissions, what's the fucking point, right? Like, no. Mm-hmm. And so we figured out that people didn't get better over time either. So I'd say, right, Ali, you're welcome to join, but you have 1 week to get a deal. I'll go to meetings with you. I'm going to teach you. I'm going to buddy up the sales guys. Everything I can do to support you. If you can't sell one client per Groupon in the first week, you're fired.
Yeah.
Okay. Reality is you don't want to work for here because you're not going to make commission. And it's nothing about you. It's just certain salespeople can sell Groupon and certain people can't. And so it's better done quickly than it is later. Okay. In your second week, you need to sell me 5 deals because that's what your ongoing target is anyway. If you can't do that, again, we're wasting our time.
Yes.
When I was really straight up with people about that, when I was firing them, it was like, thanks, Alex, for giving me a shot. Clearly, it's not going to work out.
But they knew ahead of time what was expected.
I was very, very clear about it.
Yeah.
So when I called them in for a meeting on whatever, Friday evening or Monday morning or something, they knew. I was like, Alex, it's cool. I get it. Shake hand. Done. Because they don't need to know that I'm going to fire them. They know what the goal is.
Yeah.
So like now, I need a CMO. I need a co-founder who's going to support me. The goal for this year is to 10x our revenue. And the next month, we want to deliver this, we want to deliver that.
Right.
We want to make sure we're right fit. Not everyone can sell mobile apps, whatever it is. We want to make sure this is something that you're going to join, you'll be proficient at. here's what the expectations are, because let's face it, this company's not going to go anywhere, and I'm going to give you a stake of this company so you're an owner. So if this is not going to work out, whatever bullshit you make up, right? But just be very clear about what those deliverables are.
Yeah.
And what your expectations are, and said, I'm not going to tell you how to do your job.
Yeah.
But this is what our company needs to deliver if you want to join. And this is what
Yes.
we achieved.
Right.
And then, you know, if it doesn't work out, you told her the numbers.
She knows. Yeah.
That was her job.
Yeah.
And if she agrees, I'm okay with these numbers.
Yeah.
How's that Ali's fault? It's not. It's Mary's problem.
Exactly.
But if you're just really upfront with people about what they have to deliver, they can't argue with it because they agreed to them.
Absolutely. Makes lots of sense.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So like everything with startup should be fundamentally data driven. You develop a thesis of something, you decide what it is you want to achieve, you do things and decide if it works or doesn't. Was it or something, right? Like if you can't measure it, it doesn't happen, or whatever that quote is. I think everyone's read it before. But it's, you need to know what you want and what you expect from people.
Yeah.
And if you're clear with it, you know, there's no problems. Always over communicate with staff.
Have you ever tested, you know, the caller? I forget what you call it, but people that actually get on the phone and make appointments and do that kind of stuff, where you pay them X amount of dollars a month and they book X amount of appointments or get you know, leads into a calendar for you?
I've never done it personally, but I know there's a ton of companies that do it.
Yes.
One of my friends has had success working with commission-only sales guys.
Yeah.
So I totally know this stuff works. Especially, okay, so with commission-only sales guys, the juice needs to be worth the squeeze. So if they can make money doing it, they'll sell it.
Yeah.
And the easier it is for your product to be sold, the easier it is for them to start making money. You need to put in the time to train them properly, or they're not going to do it. You also really need to train them properly, because you don't want them to oversell, because they'll get you on, but these guys will have crazy fucking expectations, and they'll freak out. They'll take up your customer care time and blah, blah, because the sales guys lied to them. So sales guys' job is to close deals.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
So you may or may not be able to defer compensation in case people churn out or something like that. Large enterprises, you would do that, of course, but at least, you know, commission-only sales guys, you know. So point-booking people, I've never personally done it, so I'm not going to pie on it. I definitely know that there is a fucking lot of these companies, because they keep adding me on LinkedIn and emailing me.
Yeah.
And these companies only exist if they had clients.
Yeah.
So I'm not the person to tell you about this. Again, so I keep mentioning Upwork, for example, is everything where I don't want to spend time on it, or I'm not an expert, I either want someone else to do it or tell me what the answer is.
Yeah.
So I will regularly pay people to teach me things.
Yeah.
Here's a nice tip, is go to growthmentor.com.
Yep.
I think it's still in sort of beta version. So it's only like $100 a year or $100 lifetime or something on this. And you can find people who will give you growth marketing advice for free. There's a bunch of people who will do it for free. And like you get people from all sorts of companies, like even Typeform and well-known companies, who find people there. And if they like you, they'll help you out, right? There are also people who you can pay per hour, which I personally prefer, because I just want to make it transactional, right? But like, they're not doing me a favor, right? And they're really reasonable. You can get them for like $50 an hour, which is ridiculous. But there's a bunch of people who do it for free as well. The site's not that well known. And so I'm not an expert at marketing, because I've always had people to do it for me.
Yeah.
But I went on site and I booked like 20 meetings. And just chatted to everyone. And like the big learning, so I mean, I don't mind sharing this stuff. So I was like, you know, I put out massive amount of content on my blog. And I don't really like marketing, because I find it intellectually uninteresting. So I don't do it.
Yeah.
And so all my CMO friends take the piss out of me. And I was like, Alex, what the fuck, right? You're meant to do like 10% content, 90% marketing. I do 100% content. I don't do any fucking marketing, right? It's like, fuck, okay, I actually need to understand how this stuff works if I want to put this stuff out there.
Yeah.
So I'd go out, I'll go talk to the guys and learn some stuff. And the big learning I had from those guys is that I already know what I need to do.
Yeah.
So there's no point in then me talking to more people because I actually know what needs to be done. I just don't want to do it because I feel it's boring, you know?
Yeah.
But it's also useful to confirm, like, how ignorant are you? I always want to be the dumbest person in the room because I might learn something. Like if I walk into a room, I'm like, I'm the smartest motherfucker in the room. I don't get smarter because my mind's not open to learning.
Yeah.
But once people tell you, Ali, you know what to do, use the force. You know, it's into you, right? Like you just need to fucking do it. Then you just need to fucking do it, right?
Yeah. Yeah. No, that makes sense.
So Growth Men is a great place to get some respect from people. Plus, you can actually hire them as fractionals. So going to agencies, you're going to pay top dollar.
Yeah.
It's harder, but you could, for example, go to Growth Mentor and ask someone to help you build a mini growth team. They could be your fractional CMO, do the smart shit.
Yep.
Hire part-time people who can manage other functions.
Yep.
And then whether it is Upwork or whatever, hire a bunch of Filipinos at $3 an hour.
Yeah.
And get those people to get managed by the other people. And then the fractional CMO does the smart stuff for you. And you cut out the margin from the agency.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that requires more knowledge, but you can potentially do that.
Can do it, yeah.
Right? If you don't have much money, the great thing that you have is creativity.
Yes.
Constraints facilitate creativity. You have to do more with less.
Yes.
And the fantastic thing is, like, if you can achieve a great amount with fuck all, what are you going to do if you got lots of money?
Right.
Right?
Makes sense. Yeah.
So you're forced to have to prioritize brutally and do what will make things work.
Yeah.
So don't look for the easy options. Look for how you can hustle your way out. Can you find some consultants who can help you maybe build a team? Pick specific things. You go, okay, we want to go into content marketing. Let's start with that. We'll do that for 3 months, for 6 months, whatever it is. And then we're going to pick another channel. We're going to go into that.
Okay. Makes sense.
Like figure out what your budget is, what it is you want to achieve, set those goals with everyone, over communicate, keep on checking in with people, and keep pushing. But again, have numbers for what it is of success, what is failure, and keep communicating with those people. And, and with stuff like pick numbers which are a bit crazy, right, and make them fucking figure it out. Because people want to achieve for themselves, right? They don't. The best way to get people to work is not to make them do it because you tell them to, but do it because they want to be congruent with the view of themselves that they have.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Got a whole sheet of stuff written down here now.
Okay, cool. So pick something.
Yeah.
Write down a list of points, okay? Prioritize them.
Yeah.
Pick one and do it. And then pick a second one and do it. Multitasking is severely over fucking rated. It doesn't work. I try and juggle multiple things all the time. Doesn't work. So for example, I'm writing a book right now.
Yeah.
When I'm going to do it, I literally don't reply to any emails, WhatsApp, Facebook, fucking turn all that shit off. And the whole day I'll just write, not interested. Just do it. Because if I try to start doing it, or like I'm building some extra models and some other things, like other academic things, right? But like I went and built a marketplace model, and then I forgot about what I was writing for this chapter in the book because I don't have everything in my head anymore. So pick one thing
and do it, finish it.
My personal experience of just fucking things up or not doing it properly. So if anything I said to you was interesting, prioritize them, pick one, deliver. Or do you know what? Pick someone in your company and said, this is what we're going to do. You are responsible for delivering it. Here is the timeline. And here's what the definition of success looks like as a metric.
Right.
or like under OKRs, you should read the blog that I've read. It's very detailed. You set the objective with them, and then they have to put out the key results for what that looks like when they achieve that objective, right?
Yeah.
Or however you kind of want to structure that. But always know what it is you want and be able to communicate that to people, and then they've got to figure it out. But let them take ownership and give them the reward if they do a good job.
Got it. Yeah. Fantastic.
All right, cool, Ali. Nice talking to you.
I appreciate your time.
All right.
If you ever need anything from me, please don't hesitate to reach out. Yeah, I'll do an app for you for sure.
Okay.
Think about it. If you want one, we're actually doing one for a coach in the Facebook group that I'm in. He's going to promote it. If you want, let me know. I mean, we'll put something together for you.
What can you tell me about that? What is your coaching group?
No, I'm in a marketing group with guys that are selling coaching and stuff like that. So one of the guys I connected with was said, do me an app and I'll use it and I'll tell all the people that are in the group that it's promote me kind of thing.
Yeah.
So they won't know that I gave it to them for free, but they other people will buy it at that point.
No, sure. But again, maybe that's a way of making things work. Find key influencers.
Yeah.
Do it for free and say all you need. If you like it,
promote it.
If your cogs are super low.
Yeah, no, for sure.
That's
I'll put something together for you. I'll shoot you over an email and see if you like it. We'll do it.
Why not? No, the reason we say that is because I'm interested. Is I have a client who has a business which you can call it mobile app, I guess, way, but it's meant to be like community as a service type platform.
Right.
And a big thing he's been talking to me quite a lot is like, where is the community for startup founders? I'm like, I don't really fucking know, actually.
Yeah.
Or, where is like a community if you want to fundraise and get all that kind of knowledge? And just as an open thing, and anyone else who wants to chime in, it's is there a community that you know of or you like? Is there something you'd actually like? Because I'm not aware of anything.
I've seen a couple, like founder dating have you heard of that? Founder dating.
Find people, right?
Yeah. There's a new thing. The guys from Slidebeam, I'm not sure if you heard of Slidebeam, maybe pitch decks. Yeah, they have started something called Founder Hub.
Yeah.
And they got like templates and this and that you can join. So it's in beta, but I think that was something there. But
okay, so that's a resource. I'm talking about a community where effectively you'll have some experts chime in, but it's the community adding value to each other, right?
Right.
More as a group.
Yeah, not like that. Not aware of anything quite like that. There's tons of Facebook groups with marketing experts and this expert and that kind of expert. But yeah.
Is it something you'd actually like?
Yeah, sure. A Facebook group or some sort of area where you can kind of congregate and say this works, that works, that this didn't work, that kind of stuff. Sure, that would be a great value.
Yeah. So I'm not sure yet because I don't really get communities, but I just need to see how many more people keep mentioning the same thing to figure out if there's a trend or not, right?
Yeah, no, for sure. Then build it.
Yeah. So I'm happy to kind of build something if people actually have a need for it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I've got better shit to do.
For sure.
All right, Ali, really nice talking to you. Let's keep in touch.
Yeah, absolutely. Have a great day.
Right.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.